بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما رب العالمين. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah did teach us in previous sessions that the love of Allah Azza wa Jal needs to be the supreme love, right? The top love in our lives. And in fact, anything other than that would be deficiency in one's iman. So to reinforce this, he said rahimahullah, وَالْمَحْبُوبُ قِسْمَانِ مَحْبُوبٌ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَحْبُوبٌ لِغَيْرِهِ. He says the beloved, what you love, is of two kinds. One that you love for itself and one that you love for another. And this division is actually very important because that's going to lead to the supremacy of Allah's love and why it should be supreme. So today's lecture, inshallah, has a couple of concepts that require that you keep attention or pay attention in order to understand them, inshallah. So what you love is of two kinds, right? One that you love for itself and one that you love for another. And we'll get an example, inshallah. But also he said, وَالْمَحْبُوبُ لِغَيْرِهِ لَابُدَّ أَنْ يَنْتَهِي إِلَى الْمَحْبُوبِ لِنَفْسِهِ دَفْعًا لِلتَّسَلْسُلِ الْمُحَالِ. He says, what you love for another must eventually reach and end at what you love for himself. What you love for itself. Otherwise, you're going to fall into the endless chain of dependence, which is an impossibility, right? Endless chain of dependence, tasalsul, which he says it's an impossibility. So let's explain what that means, because that same concept is also used to illustrate that you cannot have an endless chain of created beings. Like I'm created, and I was created by a being before me who is created, and a being before it that is created, so on the chain. It says, if you hypothesize that, and it's an infinity, it says that would be an impossibility, illogical, right? So we want to understand this because you'll understand also that proof of the existence of Allah Azza wa Jal based on that. So if you frame it in the negative, it'll be easier to understand. So let me give you an example. Suppose you work in a company. To get your salary, you go to your boss. The boss has to sign off on the slip. You get your salary. Good? Now, you move on onto another company. That other company is bigger and more sophisticated, more bureaucratic. So in addition to your immediate boss, we'll call him boss number one, he has his other boss, which is boss number two. You can't get your salary until boss number two signs off to boss number one, and boss number one gives you your salary. So you go to boss number one and say, "Gonna get my salary." Boss number one will says, "I wish I could give that to you, but I need the approval of what? Boss number two." So you go to boss number two, you get his signature. You go to boss number one, you get his signature, you get your salary. But if you go simply to boss number one, can he give it to you? He says, "No, I need somebody else." Now you go to another company, which is a bigger company and more complex company. And now we have 10 bosses. Boss number one needs the signature of boss number two. Boss number two needs the signature of boss number three. And so on until you reach the 10th. So you go to boss number one, you say, "I want my salary." I says, "I want to give that to you, but I need the signature of number two." You go to number two, he said, "I need number three." You go to number three, he said, "I will, but I need number four." Number four says, "I need number five," all the way. When you reach number 10 said, "Yes." And when he said yes, you go to number 9, he says, "Now I can say yes." You go to number 8, he says, "Now I can say yes." You go to number 7, he says, "Now I can say yes," until you reach number 1. He said yes, you took your salary. Is that clear? It's not confusing? Now, what if you assume an infinite number of bosses? Infinite. When will you get your salary? You will never get your salary. Right? Because whoever you go to, he said, "I wish I can help, but I need the one before me." And you go to boss number million, I need the million and one. You go to boss number billion, I need the billion and one. It's never ending. And because there's no beginning, there is no one who can say independently, yes. They always need someone before. That's why you will never reach a beginning. That's why you will never get your salary. So that's the same tasalsul that they use in what? Saying that if every being is created by another created being, there is no one who is uncreated. It's an impossibility. In the same manner, because I cannot be created until the one before me creates me. And he's created as well. So you go to him and you say, can you create me? He says, no, I can't until the one before me creates me. You go to him and you say, can you create? He says, I cannot create until someone before me creates me. And so on, and so on, and so on. So if you assume that it's a continuous, endless chain of created beings by other created beings, where is the end? Or rather, where is the beginning? Who can say create? Can anyone say create? No one can say create because they are waiting for somebody else. He says, then you must reach an end or a beginning where someone says, begin creation without the need of anybody else. And that one is whom? Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you assume endless chain of dependence, it becomes an impossibility. So he's saying here, if you assume that the ones that you love for another are endless, then there is no love. Because you say, I cannot love you until the other one gives me love. And you say, you go to him and you say, can you give me love? He say, I cannot give love until the one before me gives me love. You go to him and you say, can you love? You say, I can't love you until the one before me gives you love. So if you love for another, you go to the other, he says, but I'm depending on the one before me. The next one, I'm depending on the one before me. He says, if you have that type of love, you ultimately must reach the one that you love for his own sake. The one who can initiate love, who can begin love. And that is whom? Allah Azza wa Jal. So you cannot have an endless chain of love for the sake of another. It must begin with someone. And that someone is the one that you love for his sake. Now, why he said this, why he wrote this, rahimahullah, is to assert that Allah Azza wa Jal is the only one who deserves to be loved for himself. And everyone else is loved for another, including Allah Azza wa Jal. You love others for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, or you love others for others' sake, but the only one who deserves to be loved for himself is Allah Azza wa Jal. So let's first read what he said, then we'll try to explain it. قال وكل ما سوى المحبوب الحق فهو محبوب لغيره. It says anything other than the true beloved, which is Allah Azza wa Jal, you love it for another. And nothing is loved for itself except Allah Azza wa Jal. And everything else that you love because of Allah Azza wa Jal. Or at least supposedly, that's the way that it's supposed to be, that you're supposed to love it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, not independent of Allah Azza wa Jal. He says, كَمَحَبَّةِ مَلَائِكَتِهِ وَأَنْبِيَائِهِ وَأَوْلِيَائِهِ. So you love the angels because of them or because of Allah? Because of Allah Azza wa Jal. Otherwise, the angels would mean nothing to you. Right? They would be beings, but they would mean nothing to you. What's your connections to the angels? Through Allah Azza wa Jal. What is your connection to the prophets of Allah Azza wa Jal? All of them. Why do you love them? Because they take you to Allah and lead you and teach you, so you love them because of that. And because Allah Azza wa Jal loves them. The awliya of Allah, their love is derived from Allah's love. You love them because of Allah Azza wa Jal. قال فإنها تبع لمحبته سبحانه وهي من لوازم محبته. So all of these are secondary to the love of Allah, a consequence of the love of Allah. فإن محبة المحبوب توجب محبة ما يحبه. Because if you love someone, you then must love what he loves. If you love Allah, you must love His prophets because Allah loves them. You must love angels because Allah loves them. You must love the righteous and the believers because Allah loves them, right? So if you love Allah, your love must extend to all of them. But that love that you gave to all of them, is it because of them or because of Allah? Is it all goes back to Allah Azza wa Jal? قال فهذا موضوع يجب الاعتناء به. This is something that you should pay careful attention to, because it will differentiate between the useful love and the love that is not useful but actually could be harmful. So any love that could be connected to Allah Azza wa Jal is useful. Any love that is independent of Allah's love, either it is non-beneficial or is harmful. So if you really want to love the things that benefit you, you must put Allah Azza wa Jal in the picture and let Him organize your love, so you love for His sake and also hate for His sake. But if you love independently, these things could either what? Not benefit you at all, or they could harm you. قال فاعلم أنه لا يحب لذاته إلا من كان كماله من لوازم ذاته. He says, no one is supposed to be loved for his sake except whose perfection is a necessary part of his self, which is Allah Azza wa Jal. That is, Allah Azza wa Jal is the only one who is necessarily perfect. Everyone else is flawed. وَإِلَهِيَّتُهُ وَرُبُوبِيَّتُهُ وَغِنَاهُ مِنْ لَوَازِمِ ذَاتِهِ. Also, His Lordship, being the only one to be worshipped, and the only creator, the only provider, all of these are essential part of who He is. So He's perfect. Because of that perfection, you love Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? Now you say, and someone may ask, they say, how about human beings? Don't we love them for them? It says, mostly we love them for another. Right? And your love for them increases and decreases based on that other. Right? So let's take a friend as an example. Why do you like your friend? Because they're nice to you. Because there is agreement in personality, because they entertain you with what they do, because they help you, because they are merciful, because they are kind, so you love them because of this. That's clear, right? What if they start turning away from all of that, losing all of these qualities? Would your love remain unchanged? It will be changed. Can it turn into hatred? So did you love them or love them for another? You love them for another, right? And this is, by the way, all these examples I'm going to be mentioning, parents, children, spouses, what have you, the idea here is not to turn you cold towards everybody in your life when we say, oh, you love them for another. No, you're a human being. You need things from everybody around you, and they need things from you. But it's simply to frame it in its proper dimensions, so that you understand the difference between how Allah should be loved and how these people should be loved. So even when you think about your spouse, right? Your spouse, you love them for another. Not for themselves, but you love them for another. Even when you think about your parents and you think about your children, your love for them will fluctuate based on how they behave. Right? So if they're kinder to you, nicer to you, they listen to you, they don't abuse you, they don't insult you, then you will love them. If they do the opposite, yeah, you may say, I will never really hate them, because after all, they are my parents, after all, they are my children. So there'll always be a basic amount of love that I will have for them. And that love, by the way, is an extension of you. Because they are theirs, yours. They are yours, that's why. But even with that, the amount of love that you have for them will either increase or decrease based on their behavior. Right? So there is also love for another, even when it comes to the closest people around you. Right? Now, someone may say, astutely ask, well, don't we love Allah Azza wa Jal because of another? That we love Allah Azza wa Jal because of all of the bounties that He gives us? Right? So we love Allah because I made dua and He answered my dua. He's the one who feeds me. He's the one who protects me. He's the one who gives me this and that. We say, this is the initial stage for your loving Allah Azza wa Jal. This is how Allah Azza wa Jal brings you in. Right? This is how Allah Azza wa Jal wakes you up. See all the ni'mas that I've given you, so that you will know who I am, and you will understand how much you need me, and how much I've given you. That will generate love in you for me. But if your love for Allah Azza wa Jal hinges on what He gives you, have you loved Allah or loved what He gives you? You loved what He gives you. So when He stops, what will happen to your love? It will decrease. And then you haven't loved Allah Azza wa Jal, but you've loved the gifts that He was giving you. So ibnalqayyim and before him Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahumullah, they were saying what? Yes, you can love Allah Azza wa Jal for all the things that He gives you, but if you just stop there, you're loving the things and you're not loving Allah. Allah deserves to be loved for who He is. In addition, for all the ni'mas that He gives you. So didn't we say that your friend is nice to you, your friend gives you gift, your parents took care of you, that's why you love them? Right? So who gave them the ability to do that? Allah Azza wa Jal. Who taught them to do all of these things? Allah Azza. Who brought their hearts close to you? Allah Azza wa Jal. So even the ni'mas that human beings have and they give to you, it came from Allah Azza wa Jal. Directly or indirectly, it came from Allah Azza wa Jal. So when you look at it, if you want to love for another, your love loving them should lead you to the loving Allah Azza wa Jal. But if you just simply stop there, you only love the things that you are receiving. Because somebody else can ask, and I hope I'm not confusing you. Somebody else could ask, okay, you're telling me that I only love for the sake of another. You say, yes. He says, what about so-and-so? I've never met him in my life, but I admire him. I can even say I love him. You say, why? He says, because he is honest, and he is noble, and he is kind. He has all of these qualities, and I love him for these qualities. He didn't give me anything, and I'm not expecting to receive anything from him. How is this love for another? He says, no, this is love for the qualities that that person has, which you should love Allah Azza wa Jal for. Not because you're getting anything from him, you see? Just like that person, you're not going to get anything from him. But just because of who he is, aren't people attracted to beauty? They just love the beautiful and the handsome, just naturally. You're not going to get anything from them, but they're just natural attraction. Who is the most beautiful? Allah Azza wa Jal. More beautiful than any human being, and all of them put together. So, if you love for nobility, for the greatest of qualities, the scholars will say, then that should lead you to loving Allah Azza wa Jal for Himself, for His perfection, for His mercy, for His forgiveness, for His excellence, before and more than you love Him for the things that He had given you. The things that He had given you are simply the means for you to know who Allah Azza wa Jal is. And add to it is that this person that you love for his nobility, for his mercy, for his noble qualities, لا يحب من كل وجه إذ النقص لازم له. You're not going to love him from every angle, for everything that he is, because he is deficient by nature as a human being. Do you love someone completely 100%, meaning you approve of everything that they are and everything that they do all the time? Is that possible? So even the one that you love the most, there are things about them that you say, I'm not really crazy about this. I don't like this about them. I love them, but I just don't like this about them. I don't like that about this other person. So you're not going to love them from every angle completely. The exception is Allah Azza wa Jal, فَإِنَّهُ يُحَبُّ مِنْ كُلِّ وَجْهٍ. You love Him from every direction, from every angle, for everything, because there's no deficiency there. So when you think about Allah's love versus humanity, Allah Azza wa Jal is perfect and complete, and you should love Him for Him. Right? In addition to loving Him for all the things that He does for you and gives you. But loving Him for Him, that's only for Allah Azza wa Jal. Then he continues, and I hope that was not too confusing. I know it's kind of theoretical and abstract a little bit, but that's the only way that we could explain what he was saying here. Anyway, inshallah. If it's was not clear, inshallah, let me know. قال وما سواه, anything other than Allah Azza wa Jalla. He says, you are to hate them, not hate everybody, in case you will to hate them if they contradict what Allah loves and they oppose it. وبغضه وكراهته بحسب قوة هذه المنافاة وضعفها. You will hate them disassociate from them in so much as they oppose Allah Azza wa Jal. So the more that they oppose Allah or digress from Him and oppose what He loves, you would hate them even more. So فَهَذَا مِيزَانٌ عَادِلٌ. He says this is a just scale by which you'll be able to gauge whether you agree with Allah Azza wa Jal or not, whether you love Allah Azza wa Jal or not. He says, so if you see a person who loves what Allah hates and hates what Allah loves, you know that he has animosity towards Allah Azza wa Jal in proportion to that. You follow? He says if you see someone, like the believer is supposed to love what Allah loves, right? And hate what Allah hates. You say why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal is your beloved. Allah is your wali, who is your ally, He's your protector. So because of that, because you love Allah Azza wa Jal, you go along with what He loves and against what He hates. So he says, if you see someone, and this does not mean that you have to gaze at other people. No, you direct that gaze inward. If you see yourself hating what Allah loves and loving what Allah hates, then what does that say about you? In proportion to that love and hate that is an opposite to what Allah wants, you have some friction with Allah Azza wa Jal. You have lack of love. Because if not, then you will love what Allah loves. So if you find in yourself, as you are living, as you are experiencing, as you're receiving information, something that when you look at it, Allah hates it, but you love it, you have to ask yourself, why do I love it? Stop. Allah hates it, and Allah looks at it and He hates it, yet I love it. Why am I loving it? What's wrong about me? Why am I attracted to it? Or the opposite, something that Allah loves and you hate it. And there's some natural hatred towards difficult matters that requires that we struggle until we overcome it. It's not what I'm talking about, that natural hatred or hesitation. But we're talking about actually hating that thing. Why do you hate it if Allah Azza wa Jal loves it? At least a portion of you, despite the hardship, a portion of you must love it. Right? قال وَإِذَا رَأَيْنَا الشَّخْصَ. If you see a person, you loving what Allah loves and hating what Allah hates, and the more that a thing is beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal, the more that thing is beloved to Him, and the more that a thing is hated to Allah Azza wa Jal, the more that this thing is hated to Him, we know that he is a true wali of Allah Azza wa Jal in proportion to his love and hate. The more you love what Allah loves, and the more that you hate what Allah hates, the better believer you are, the better a Muslim you are. قال فتمسك بهذا الأصل في نفسك وفي غيرك. Hold on to this foundational principle in yourself and also when you're looking at others, because al-wilaya, and this is an important definition. He says al-wilaya, it is about agreement with al-waliyul hamid, with Allah Azza wa Jal in what He loves and what He hates. It's not about a lot of prayer and a lot of fasting and a lot of singing or ripping up clothes, depending on how you read this word, or meditation. Right? It's not about that. It's not about all of these things, whether they are legitimate or not, because He included in here legitimate acts of worship and illegitimate acts that people consider to be worship. The legitimate acts were what? Salah and fasting. The illegitimate were what? Either singing as an act of worship or ripping one's clothes in ecstasy after listening to music. Some people would consider that after dancing to the tunes of some music, that is considered to be ibadah. Or others, riyadha, meditation. Right? Whatever form that meditation takes. He says, whether you think about this or whether you think about that, he says, that's not the wilaya of Allah Azza wa Jal, because anyone can pray a lot and anyone can fast a lot. But consider and inspect whether you love what Allah loves and hate what Allah hates. He says, this makes you a wali of Allah Azza wa Jal. Even if you're not praying as much as the next person, you're doing your obligations, obviously. That is, a non-question. You're doing your obligations when it comes to fasting. But somebody else does a lot more salah, voluntary, a lot more fasting, voluntary, but does not have that principle in his heart, and he loves what Allah hates and hates what Allah loves. He says, this is not a wali of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? قال والمحبوب لغيره قسمان أيضا. He says what you love for another is also made up of two things or two categories. A thing that is desirable when you do. Okay? A thing ما يلتذ المحب بإدراكه وحصوله, meaning a thing that when you do, it brings you pleasure. The means brings you pleasure. And the other one, it brings you pain, but you tolerate it because the objective is desirable for you, like drinking bitter medicine. Remember, we brought that example last time. So he says, what you love for the sake of another, right, or you will do for the sake of another, is of two kinds. One, the means is appealing to you, right? Consider that the medicine is honey and you love honey or sweet things. So you'll take it, and if it's medicinal, then you love the outcome as well, right? So the means is good and the goal is good. There's no problem here. Is there a problem here? No problem here. Where's the problem? He says, what is painful or bitter, you don't want it for itself, you want it for the outcome. So you must overcome your rejection of it, hatred of it, in order to reach the outcome that you love more than your hatred for whatever you are taking or whatever you are doing. And he says, this is like Allah Azza wa Jal saying in the Quran, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالُ وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ. Fighting has been obligated on you, though you hate it. And he said, and perhaps you may hate something and it is better for you, and perhaps you may love something and it is bad or evil for you, and Allah knows and you do not know. He says, so when Allah Azza wa Jal here prescribed fighting for them, who loves to go and fight and be killed? Initially, no one. And you're going to leave your loved one behind. And you're going to leave, if you die, orphans and widows. Right? And sisters and mothers and fathers who will be crying. Who loves to go and be killed? Except if the cause convinces you that it's worth it. But in itself it's bitter. In itself is difficult. Itself takes struggle. Right? قال فأخبر سبحانه, Allah Azza wa Jal said that fighting is hated to them, though it is better for them. They hate it, though it is better for them, because it will lead to the greatest beloved and most beneficial. What is the greatest beloved and most beneficial thing? Two things, the possibility when you go and fight. You either what? Win, and you come back safe, or you get killed, and that is shahada. So if you are martyred, if you have shahada, that's the greatest outcome. Though initially you don't like it. Or if you win, you come back with exalting Allah's name and securing the worshippers of Allah Azza wa Jal on the land. Meaning you're expanding what Allah loves, and that is beneficial for you and anyone who worships Allah Azza wa Jal around you. So though it is the most beneficial and the most beloved, you hate the means that will lead you to it. قال, and this is the problem, وَالنُّفُوسُ تُحِبُّ الرَّاحَةَ وَالدَّعَةَ وَالرَّفَاهِيَةَ. But not the souls, but the beings, human beings, what do they love? They love comfort, and they love luxury and laziness. Right? He said that's the nature of humanity. The nature of humanity is you prefer what? To sit rather than walk. Right? Sit back rather than strive. You prefer not to push. So he says, وَذَلِكَ شَرٌ لَهَا, and that is an evil for it, because it will lead it to losing the outcome that Allah loves and is best for it. So, more practical example, is waking for Fajr easy, especially as it gets early? Is it easy? You gotta struggle, you gotta fight. So what would push you to initiate that fight and win that fight? Is whenever you remember the outcome, or fear the lack of prayer. That if I don't pray, Allah Azza wa Jal will punish me, because I'm not gonna wake up. Allah will punish me. If I pray, Allah will give me this and this and that. So though it is difficult, when you remember the outcome and what Allah had promised you, if you do it, and promised you if you don't, you'll wake up. So it is hated, it is bitter, but you'll do it if Allah Azza wa Jal wants it. If you want it, and Allah Azza wa Jal of course wants it for you. But you have to remember and remind yourself that the better things in life require bitterness. You have to pass through some bitterness to get them. The better things in life require sacrifice and bitterness. But if you always prefer comfort and laziness, you will never get them. So you have to push yourself to be able to get the best in the akhirah and get the best in the dunya. قال فالعاقل, he says the wise, does not look at the immediate joy of what is around him and prefer it because it's immediate, and look at the pain of what he hates that is immediate, and that's why he turns away from it. You don't judge basically on what is immediately around you. This is joyful, this is sweet, I'm going to do it just because it's sweet. Or this is bitter immediately, so I'm not going to do it just because it's bitter and hateful. فإن ذلك قد يكون شرا له بل يجلب عليه غاية الألم. Because this will be evil for you. In fact, it could bring you the greatest pain and deprive you of the greatest joy. If you say, I simply want to rest. Anything that is bitter, is difficult, I'm not going to do. Immediately, I'm not going to do. And anything that is fun, I'll do. He says, if you choose that, it will bring you the greatest harm later and deny you of the greatest benefit. So, do you study? I don't want to study. Why? Because it's just fun not to, isn't it? It's just fun not to. If you can have fun right now, what will happen to you later? Nothing. You'll be nothing. You're not going to have any training, no skill, no degree, nothing. You'll be lost. Then you'll look back at those times when you have preferred laziness and you say, I was the stupidest person to make that choice. I could have, but I didn't. Somebody starts, for instance, let's say Quran memorization, or he starts going to the gym and exercising, or starts a particular diet, or starts a particular project, and that project is going to take a while until you see, I don't know, its fruition, or at least a glimpse of an accomplishment, but he starts it anyway. And you say it's too difficult. I'd rather do something else. I'd rather have fun. A year or two passes, this person has memorized the Quran and you haven't. And you'll ask him, how did you do it? He'll say, it's difficult and it's bitter and there are obstacles, but I tried and I pushed and I eventually did that. You see him after 6 months or so, lost weight, good body. How did you do this? Exercise upon exercise, and I pushed myself. Wasn't easy, but I did it. Was it easy? Was it enjoyable? Not in the beginning, not at all. Was incredibly frustrating. But I pushed myself, this is the result. So anything in life, any project, especially if it's great and it's going to take time, you have to experience bitterness. You must hate it in the beginning, but overcome that hatred by keeping your eyes on the goal of why am I doing this, and staying around people who will encourage you and motivate you because they also want the same goal. But if you're around the lazy, well, they're going to just magnetically attract you to greater laziness because this is what the self wants, right? قال بل عقلاء الدنيا, he says the wise in the dunya, they will tolerate great hardships because of the sweetness that it will bring later, even if that sweetness is not everlasting. And you'll see what people do to become rich, even though they know that they're going to die eventually and leave all that money behind. What they do to gain political power. Even though they know that eventually they will die and that thing will not last for them. But just to enjoy it for a little bit, he said they will endure great hardships. قال فالأمور أربعة. So matters are of four kinds. He says something hateful that leads to something hateful that leads to something beloved that leads to something beloved, and something beloved that leads to something hateful. Who would like to repeat this? You said you've lost us when you started numbering them. It says something hateful that leads to something hateful. Are you going to do it? Why? Right? No one is going to do this, so that's easy. Out. Something beloved that leads to something beloved. Everybody's going to do this, right? Okay. Something hateful that leads to something beloved. That's difficult. Something beloved that leads to something hateful. Do people do that? All the time. What is sin about? Sin, ma'asiyah, what is it about? Something beloved that leads to something hateful. But subhanAllah, it's not just about that. Why do people smoke cigarettes? Why do people drink alcohol? Right? Why do people take drugs? Something beloved now. Is it going to lead to something beloved later? Absolutely not. And if you were to ask them, they'll say, yeah, we know. Right? Brother, don't smoke, it's going to lead to cancer. I know. They know. Alcohol will lead to this, I know. You just don't want to think about it because you just want to enjoy it at this moment. Right? فقال بقي القسمان الآخران. Those are the two troublesome ones. The one that is beloved to a hateful and hateful to a beloved. He says this is the battleground. Battleground of shaitan. Between you and shaitan. Between you and yourself. قال فالنفس, he says the self wants the thing that is what? Closest to it. Which is what is immediate. That immediate joy. But al-aql, the intellect and iman, you want the most beneficial and the most lasting. And the heart is torn between the two. So the nafs says what? Just enjoy what you have at this moment. Why struggle? Why fight? Why the pain? Just watch this and eat that and forget about this and distract yourself. Why the pain? I don't want pain. So that's what the self is saying. The intellect says, come on, this is not going to last. And this is very harmful. And the Sharia is also saying the same thing. That's the Iman. And the heart is torn between the two. Sometimes the heart listens to the self, and sometimes the heart listens to the intellect or to Iman and the Sharia. قال وها هنا محل الابتلاء شرعا وقدرا. He says this is where Allah Azza wa Jal tests you. Tests you in His Sharia and tests you in how Allah Azza wa Jal sets up circumstances for you to make that choice. So there's Allah's commands. But it's not just that. Allah had put you in a particular situation where there is this and there is that, and both of them are a possibility. So the caller of the intellect and Iman constantly is saying, Hayya ala al-falah. Constantly is saying, reminding you, hasten to success. وَعِنْدَ الصَّبَاحِ يَحْمَدُ الْقَوْمُ السُّرَى. In the morning, people will praise and appreciate night travel. That's an Arab proverb. You know, people who travel in the desert, right? Traveling during the day, what's the problem with it? Hot. Okay. So when the night comes, what's the problem with traveling during the night? Is that you want to sleep. You want to sleep. So if we kind of split into two groups, the group that says, when I prefer to sleep, I just want comfort. So you sleep. The other one says what? He says, no, let's take advantage of the fact that it's cooler now. Let's push ourselves. So they continue on their journey. In the morning, right, when the sun comes up, the people who journeyed during the night will look back at the distance that they've traveled and they say, good thing that we did that. Look at where we are. And now we can rest. If you want to rest, now you can rest. But look at the distance that we've made. Whereas those who slept during the night will wake up and they say, oh, look at our companions, where they are versus us. We wish that we had done what they did. Right? So that's the case with humanity, by the way. عند الصباح, it's in the morning, at the end of it, that you go back and you will praise what you have done. So عند الصباح, then in the morning, then you will only praise night travel when you take advantage of it despite the difficulty, because you have to fight with yourself and say don't sleep, continue to travel. قال وفي الممات يحمد العبد التقى. When you're about to die, he says then the slave of Allah Azza wa Jal or the servant of Allah will praise or appreciate taqwa. قال فإذا اشتد ظلام ليل المحبة. If it becomes really difficult and your shahwa really is pulling you towards doing what Allah hates, قُلْ يَا نَفْسُ اصْبِرِي. He says, oh nafs, be patient. And then the following is a verse of poetry, فَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا سَاعَةٌ ثُمَّ تَنْقَضِي وَيَذْهَبُ هَذَا كُلُّهُ وَيَزُولُ. He says, be patient, O self. فَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا سَاعَةٌ ثُمَّ تَنْقَضِي. It's only an hour, and then it will pass, then all of this will be gone. Right? That is, if you can be wise enough to tell yourself that, then you'll be able to overcome the pull of shahwa, especially when you find yourself the weakest. You say, فَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا سَاعَةٌ ثُمَّ تَنْقَضِي. So think of somebody who's being afflicted, being tested at this moment, and they're about to lose their patience. Say what? Say, it's an hour, and it will just go away. Now that hour could be an actual physical hour, or it could be half a day, or it could be a day. The meaning here is what? It will end. It's just, it will pass. It will pass. And think, if you want just confirmation, think about the last problem that you've experienced. Do you have one? You must, right? Did it end? It ended, right? And now that it ended, does it feel like it was real? Or is it just like a faint memory of something that happened, maybe even to somebody else? But it's gone, right? So it says, if you actually be patient, this thing has an expiration. Has an expiration. Then everything that you see around you, this thing that is troubling you and weighing you down, and you don't know what to do with it, and you hate your life because of it, كُلُّهُ يَزُولُ. All of it will go. And you will be in a different place with different people, in different times, in different circumstances. All of it will be gone. So he said, if you just be patient for this, all the rest will go away. So he says, be patient and be strong because of it. Right? Especially when you are weakest, remind yourself. So when there's that shahwa, right, or there's that bitterness or that hatred for what you're doing, you say, if you just continue with your patience, continue with your determination, don't stop. Don't stop. Not now. No, don't stop. No, I have to do this haram. You say, at least give me 2 hours. Don't do it just for 2 hours. Give me 3 hours, and don't do it for 3 hours. Prove to yourself that you can say no to yourself. I'm not going to do this for 2 hours. I'm not going to do this for 3 hours. Then that flame, as he calls it, that flame of shahwa will subside, go down. And you'll be distracted by something else. Or if you are about to quit because of something hard that you're doing and you really want to quit, you say to yourself, push yourself for 1 more hour. Push yourself for 1 more day. Don't give up yet. And keep doing it. And when you do that, then you'll overcome that down period, that difficult period, and you'll rise up again, bi'idhnillah. So remind yourself that everything is going to end. Wallahu a'lam. Now I don't want to continue. I'll just mention that statement, and then we'll go back, we'll come back inshallah next week to explain it. He says, Al-hubbu aslu kulli amalin min haqqin wa batil. He says, love is the basis of all actions, whether they are valid or invalid, sound or not sound, beloved to Allah or not. فَأَصْلُ الْأَعْمَالِ الدُّنِيَّةِ حُبُّ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولُهُ. He says the foundation, the reason why you do any religious act is the love of Allah and His Messenger. And the reasons, or the foundation of religious truths is the believing Allah and His Messenger. Right? Because religion is either what? Something that you believe or something that you do. So the foundation of that is you believe Allah and His Prophet and what they have said. Why do you move towards Allah and His Prophet? Is because you love them. But what I want to take from it, at least for now, is what? Religion is based on love. Because everything else in your life is based on love. So what you do in your life, you do it because of one thing. And that is love. Right? And your religious commitment is there because of love. Even though we say fear, we say hope, yes, they feed, but the principal motivator is what? Love. For whatever you do in your life and whatever you do religiously. Huh? And we'll mention this or talk about it more inshallah next week with Allah Azza wa Jal. Khair inshallah. Was that too heavy for today? Okay. Khair inshallah. Tayyib, let me know inshallah if you have questions. I'll try my best to answer them inshallah. I do have something online, let me see inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. What if we end up loving a righteous person too much but get heartbroken? Okay, so what if we end up loving a righteous person too much but get heartbroken if we are rejected, like a proposal? Does this mean that we didn't like them for Allah's sake, since we did not accept qadar? These are human feelings. These are human feelings. And it's almost unavoidable for you if you get rejected, especially if you are attached to someone, you're attracted to someone. You're not married yet, but in the engagement period, let's say, or before that, but you just have developed some sort of attraction, and you started to develop in your head the possibility that we could be together and we'd be married and it will look like this and we'll have children, as humans do when they think about their future, and you get rejected. That rejection is going to hurt you. Right? It does not mean that you loved them for the sake of, loved them for themselves. Right? It just simply you're attracted to them and that did not work out, and that's permissible for you to have. But if you remind yourself, as you said here, of Allah's qadar, and that you may love something but it's not good for you, and hate something but it'd be good for you. If you remind yourself of that, and that Allah's love is the essential type of love, and Allah's love will take care of anything missing in your life, you'll be able to overcome that disappointment, right? So just loving someone or being disappointed or being heartbroken because you did not end up with them does not mean that you love them for them. Allah, it's just simply, it's a matter of attraction. If we see family members doing things that Allah hates, how do we balance hating that thing along with having good family relations? You love them, and like with most humans, right? There's a combination of love and hate, attraction and repellent, right? Always, right? It's just which one is more. So here, if you have this family member that is doing something that Allah Azza wa Jal hates, that is going to diminish. If you love Allah Azza wa Jal, is going to diminish how much love you have for them, but it's not going to eliminate it. They're still family. You're still required to be good to them. You're still required to have a connection to them. But if they are upsetting Allah, they'll upset you. Then how do you treat that? With the best way. Because the thing here is it's not that I'm upset, I should make them know that I'm upset, or that I am angry because Allah's rules have been broken, then I should really be like a lion and charge at them just because this has happened. No, you should be angry or should be upset, but then how do you want to bring them to Allah Azza wa Jal, not chase them away? Because what is the purpose of your anger? To simply just be angry, or do you want to fix them? What is it? You want to fix them, obviously. So if you want to fix them and bring them closer to Allah, you want to choose the best way. What is the best way? It's to bring them, so you gentle reminder, gentle advice, better modeling, you model the better behavior, you make dua for them, and you remember all of this, and be patient, because people don't change just simply because you said to them change. I'm not going to simply be convinced just because you brought some evidence for them. It takes more. Just think about yourself. You don't really shift easily from one position to the other. You take time to process. So you be patient with them. So reserve for yourself the right to be angry with what Allah is angry with. At the same time, fix them and be nice to them. And remember that you are supposed to take care of them. Let me see. How do we address, I know it is good, but I don't want to do it? When we see those under our authority not understanding the good that we want them to do, how do we convince a person? Especially if they are another person or they are under your care, you have to make them see what you see. You can't push them without that. There's always a limit. If they are children, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you tell them pray. Right? It may not be easy at that point to have them see the beauty of salah. Communicate it if you can, but it may not be possible. No, I don't want to pray. They're just simply children or childish. Then you have to do what? Command them. You have to pray. It's not an option. Right? Or wrong? Now, if they tell you, I don't want to go to school, what do you say? Whatever you want, honey. Huh? No, you have to, right? I don't want to eat my food or my vegetables or this. I don't want to eat. What do? You have to. Because you understand that there is a limit to their comprehension, right? At the same time, right, you want to create an internal motivation, not an external motivation. Like for them to want to do it. Not only do it because you tell them to do it. So how do you shift? You shift by having them see what you see. Tell them about what you see. Tell them why salah is important. Tell them why that food is important. Tell them why that school is important. Tell them why, and have them see it and explain it. And you know your children. Either it's through a field trip where they see that thing, or by talking to other people, or through stories, or through wisdom, or through repeated reminders. But have them see what you see, and only then will they be able to do it. But if you just simply nag, no, you have to, no, you have to, no, you have to, and that's the only strategy that you have, when they reach an age when they can say no to you, they'll say no to you. So that's not a successful strategy. As children, yes, you have to command them, right? Because that's what it says in the hadith, right? Command them to pray when they are 7, right? And punish them for it when they are 10 if they don't do it. You're not reasoning with them here. They have to establish what? A habit. But if that's the only strategy, you're losing eventually, right? Okay. Anybody in attendance here has a question before? I think I still have a few here. Nobody here? Okay. Something uncertainty. Does just we keep hoping from Allah for that uncertainty matter? Let me see. Does that get explained? In case no mahram available, can accompany mother far from little children? Can the mother travel alone to her little child? It is necessary for them to meet with a mom. So in a case, it's better that you discuss this with a person who is local. The question is that a mother wants to travel to be with her little children, and the mother does not have a mahram. Can she travel? It's better to discuss this with a local person, a local scholar, just simply because I don't know the distance, and I don't know how safe it is, and I don't know the options that you have. If we assume, and I'm not making assumptions about you, but just generally, if we assume that you must be with your children and the travel is safe, and the travel is not too far, right? And you have some company that will keep you safe, it may be allowed because of that necessity that you cite here, that you must be with them and they must be with their mother. But I do prefer that you talk to someone local so that they could assess your condition, inshaAllah, more accurately. Something that is uncertain, how do you keep hoping from Allah Azza wa Jal? I assume that you want something from Allah Azza wa Jal, but you don't know if it's going to happen or not. You keep making dua and hoping for the best from Allah Azza wa Jal, right? And remind yourself every now and then that Allah Azza wa Jal gives you the best all the time, right? So if He delays something, He delays it for a good reason. And if He gives it for a good reason at the right time for you. So I know it's not certain, I know it's not promised that you will get it, but when you make dua and you ask Allah Azza wa Jal, you hope for the very best from Allah Azza wa Jal, including that Allah has listened, and this matter now is with Allah Azza wa Jal. It doesn't mean stop making dua. No, keep knocking on the door, because the more frequent your knocks are, the more likely that Allah Azza wa Jal will answer that dua. Just remind yourself that yes, I do not know, but I know certain things about Allah Azza wa Jal that will always keep me hopeful. Right? Allah. Okay. طيب, last chance. Anyone has any question here? So if not, inshallah, we'll see you bi'idhnillah Azza wa Jal next week at the same time. And inshallah, if anything that I've said today kind of did not sit well with you, you did not really understand it, next week, inshallah, have your questions, write them down, and bi'idhnillah Azza wa Jal, I'll try to answer them. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.